What's up, everybody? Jacob with Very Good Knife Company. Back in the bear hole today. It's a nice, gloomy, ugly day. It's a little chilly. It's starting to cool off here in Georgia. We're gonna get probably an early winter, but we're getting teased with some really nice, cool weather. Anyhow, got a few things to talk to you guys about today. So let's just go ahead and dive into it. The first off, this week's Rambler drop was a success. They're all gone, they're all sold. This one's sold, but I wanted to bring it out and show you guys. But first off, thank you everyone for supporting Very Good Knife Company. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for all of my supporters, my watchers, subscribers, followers. I just really appreciate you guys. Anyhow, I wanted to show you guys the first of the Generation 2 Very Good Knife Company knives before they're shipped out and in other people's hands. So first off, you'll notice that I started marking the sheaths. Now, why it's not more common for other companies to mark their sheaths, I don't know. I do know that there are a whole bunch that do. And I do know that if you ever get leather from anyone, leather sheaths or anything, it's going to have their stamp on it, their maker's mark. So why shouldn't a Kydex sheath? Anyhow, it's been something that I've wanted to do for a while, and with the possibility of laser comes the opportunity to do things like that. So you'll see that it's got the new soft rubberized nylon loop on there. These can be carried in a multitude of ways, and I'm going to make a separate video showing you guys how I would carry one and some other carry options. Anyhow, here's the knife. Same old Very Good Knife Company knives, ADCR V2 here, but this has got the new edge, and it's pretty cool. I finally got it dialed in. Now you also see that these have got their name. This is a Rambler ADCR V2, steel denominated. Of course, anything in Nitro V is gonna say like Rambler Nitro V, and that's the new norm. So those are pretty cool. The laser's been a learning journey. It really has. This week I was pretty much just forced to sit down and figure it out. So last week I did show you guys a sneak peek at the Hawk, and I told Gabe, so I thought he would find it a little entertaining, but you should know that it was the Hawk that inspired me to, or rather forced me to really sit down and iron out 100% of my issues with the laser. And I did, and I'll show you the rest of this here in just a second. It's really cool. So after I did this one, you can see the etch on this one is just not great. It's terrible. And I've been cussing it ever since, because I spent a lot of time on getting this blade figured out. And anyhow, this is Gabe's design. I've already shown it. I may as well just finish now. This is Gabe's design. This is the Hawk. It's going to say the Hawk USA, similar to the Huntsman. Same kind of configuration. This time it's going to say a steel denomination. This one is ADCR V2. I will be doing these coming soon. I don't have an exact drop date, but they will sell for $169 in ADCR V2. They will sell for $209 in Nitro V. I will be making probably 40 of them. That's what I'm hoping for. That's not a big feat, because I mean, if you think about the time that it took me to make the Huntsman, I could have made 60 knives in the time that I did for those. So anyhow, these are a lot less of a niche kind of thing like the Huntsman. So I expect a good bit of people will want to pick one up. We'll be doing Nat Green and Denim Blue this time. Of course, anything from Gabe is going to be available in green. That is the designer's choice. 5% of every one of these knives that sells is going to go to Gabe, just like the Huntsman. I'll be getting a page up and getting started on these pretty soon. The same goes for the bonefish from Blackwater Knife Co. Now I'm OEMing this knife. There is the Blackwater logo, and that's all that I'm going to show you of this knife. Because I'm going to be sending this one out, and this one. Not going to Tim, this one's going to Gabe. But I'll be sending it out tomorrow or the next day. I'll be sending it out to Tim, and he'll be doing the big reveal on that. And he'll also be doing the selling on that Blackwater Knife Co. website. Guys, if you have not subscribed to Last Huntsman Outdoors or Tim's School of Fish, I don't know what you're waiting for. You just need to go ahead and get on over there. So we've covered the two new ones, those bases, and the Generation 2. So I brought the first generation. Of course, it was blank on one side, just had the old logo. Other than that, they're the same knife. This is dark green. This is the standard green. Now, there's a few people out there that have this color green. I'm one of them, and I've got a good bit of them in that color. My Walkabout, my Adventure, my Rambler, First Strike. I've got a couple other knives in that dark green. But my buddy Corey, longtime supporter and a big-time fan of Very Good Knife Company knives, he carries this exact one. He calls it the Farmer. And I don't dislike the name. I think it's great. But anyhow, shout out to Corey at Field, Iowa. You need to go give him a follow as well. So, the laser, that Hawk, really forced me to sit down and learn it. And so I did. This is one of my beater knives, an Adventure ADC2 brass pin model. So this would be like the first generation. I guess everything between this now and the originals would be generation and a half, 1.5s, because they got the stainless screws. I quit doing the brass. So everything with the brass screw in the original would be generation 1. If you've got ADCRV2 with stainless screws, you've got a 1.5. And if you've got anything made and sold after Friday, then you've got a generation 2. Anyhow, I did a whole bunch of laser engraving. I just etched this knife to death anywhere that it would fit. So I learned that with this setting that the material will get really hot. It takes about 3 minutes. It takes exactly 3 minutes, 2 minutes 59 seconds to do this in the way that I wanted. Now, the reason why I went wrong with this, I thought I had it dialed in. I just didn't. I didn't. That's that. I've been doing a whole bunch of testing, obviously, but I've been trying to figure out how to just not touch it. So with electrochem, you see the process. I have to run it back to the grinder, which means everything's got to be done before handles. If I have to hand sand anything, then you're going to see like my lack of ability to get up underneath there. There's going to be a hard line of inaccessible. It ain't right. The thing is, with the laser, I wanted to not have to do that anymore. I wanted to just be able to go from a finished blade to start putting handles on it. When it's done, just take it to the laser, yada yada, we're done. So, you know, trying to get it to that stage where it's still black, but you don't really feel like a raised engraving was challenging. And I learned that I actually had to defocus the laser to get that effect. Now this is really light. It'll never focus either. It's pretty visible, but it's just not, it's not great. You can feel it. Now, something on the handle wouldn't be that big of an issue. You might not like how that roughness feels, that little personalization. But on a blade, if it's going in and out of the sheath, if the engraving is raised, it'll rub on the sheath, cause some little wear and tear there. I didn't want that. I really wanted to figure out how to not touch it anymore. This would be the last step of every knife, is marking it. And they don't need work after that. They should just be done, right? Because if you're good with the laser, that should be the way it comes out anyway. That's the result that we're trying to achieve. Just getting to there was a learning curve. So, of course, with new equipment comes new challenges and new skills to learn. Another one of those challenges has been I got a hold of a surface grinder. Now, that has returned my ability to get things super flat, and perfect straight. Now, everything's been surface ground by hand up until this point. That means that not everything is perfectly straight. Now, it doesn't bother me. As long as they're not warped enough to where you can see it, I mean, like, without having to really look down it, you know, because a lot of things, they're not perfectly straight. Never claimed that they were. I don't really think that it's that big of an issue. I just don't think that it's, you know, like I said, as long as it's not super crooked. The key for me is that it takes twice as much skill to make them look really good when they're not flat. So if there's any imperfections in it, doing hand surface grinding is pretty challenging to get perfect. So if I can reduce that with a surface grinder, which I've done, then hiring out help won't be so much of an issue, because it won't take so many years for me to just get it right, or teach somebody else to get it right. You just stick it in the surface grinder and run it. Now, they're all still going to be hand finished, of course, but of course that's the surface grinder making them super flat. The ability to consistently get them really nicely ground is a whole lot easier when they are really super flat. So it'll speed things up, of course, and of course improve quality. Now, with the surface grinder, it has a magnetic chuck, and the magnets have now magnetized the blades. They magnetize the blades, and I didn't start noticing this issue until I went to go and sharpen. So when I was sharpening, the blades being magnetized, all that super fine metal shavings, steel shavings, will start to build up on the edge and stick to it. And I can't have that, because I can't see the edge. I can't see when I'm starting to get that burr. I just need that to be clean. So I had to order myself a demagnetizer, degosser, whatever it's called. That's just another process. It takes about 2 seconds. You turn it on and run it over it, and it'll demagnetize just about anything, even a magnet. So things that you just don't think about, and I just didn't pay any attention to it, I guess. I just didn't think about it until it came, and I learned that now I have this new issue. Now, the magnetization isn't that big of a deal. Honestly, if it weren't for the sharpening, you probably wouldn't notice it a whole lot, other than sometimes when I'm working them, you know, you'll get a little spot where the stuff is, little shavings are built up. Anyhow, it's just something new. That's all. So, I feel like I've covered most of my bases. Maybe I went off a rambling again. I don't know. Anyhow, I'm trying to think of things, because I always get to the end of these and I feel like I'm forgetting something. I've got other news that I want to share, but it's a little too, maybe I shouldn't. We've got some major life changes coming up. I don't know how to talk about it either. I really don't. But that's kind of what's been going on. I have a hard time not being honest and not being honest with you guys. You guys are everything to me. You make my world go around. You guys are paying my bills. You really are. My supporters. You're feeding my kids. Anyhow, I've had a bunch of orders to do this week. I got a good bit of them wrapped up. I've got a few. They're pretty much coming in by the day. Orders, people contacting, wanting knives, and I can't turn them down. It's money. So I'll be doing that next week. Next week I'll be getting started on blades for the hawk and the bonefish. Next week's this week's drop will be Adventure Juniors in ADC-RV2. Probably no specials, but I have a few ADC-RV2 blades hanging around already, so I'm just going to go ahead and run with that. That's been highly requested. Adventure Juniors and ADC-RV2. Look for those Friday. Other than that, I think I've pretty much covered everything. I hope so. Hope I didn't bore you to death again. Anyhow, thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate all your support. Subscribe for more. Have a good one.